Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we're taking a look at the Collecting a Battalion series, a series where we look at the various battalions from different factions within Warhammer Age of Sigmar and see how we can build thematic armies for them. But to start with, let's look at exactly what is a War Scroll battalion, because this will help us identify what we're trying to do here and give you sort of an idea on why we're doing what we're doing. So a War Scroll Battalion is a special formation within Age of Sigmar comprised of various units, normally within the same faction, though some do split over multiple factions. You can take this by taking this you will gain access to additional abilities for the units inside the War Scroll Battalion in-game. This is really cool because it allows you to sort of take units that thematically go together and get abilities for them, for taking them together. Why are we doing this though? So collecting a battalion can be a great way to collect to a theme, as previously mentioned. It gives you a goal to strive towards and an endpoint to reach. Battalions generally have maximum limits on them. This is really cool because it can give you sort of an endpoint of your collection. You also get bonuses, as mentioned, for playing with the models that thematically go together. And you might get a chance to try out models you might not otherwise take because outside of the battalions they might not be the most optimal choice or even a good choice. But a battalion might make them something much more greater than the sum of their parts. But what is the plan for this? And so the plan is to build an army focusing on the various battalions we look at. And for this particular part of the series, we'll be looking at Gloomspite Gitz. We also want to thematically build upon the battalion if required, because not all battalions will fill out a 2,000 point army, which is what we're sort of going to try and build with this. We also want to have a framework to set an end goal within. So this is the battalion itself, and so there are in Gloomspite Gitz some smaller and some larger battalions, and the mega battalions can actually be fit within 2,000 points, which is really cool and quite unique. It's rare to get those mega battalions, which are battalions of battalions, inside a 2,000 point army, but the Gitz can do it with some of them, so we'll be looking at those as well. But without further ado, let's get cracking into this and let's get started. So today we're going to look at a rather cool battalion inside the Gloomspite Gitz Battletome, and that is the Trogherd. These battalions in particular, the ones that feature, the Troggoths, the Spiders and the Squigs all in their own separate battalions, are really quite fun to play and really thematic as well. Okay, they might not be the most powerful battalions in the game or even in the book, but I think there's a lot of fun to be had trying to build an army around these, and if you're playing these sub-factions in particular, they're a great way to lower your drops in the factions as well. So today we're going to be looking at the Trogherd one, which is obviously for the Troggoths, and so let's get started with the organisation of the battalion. To start with, you need one Dankhold Trogboss. You then can have 3 to 9 units in any combination of Dankhold Troggoths, Feldor Troggoths, or Rockgut Troggoths, and as mentioned, in any combination, and 0 to 2 Owlguzzler Gargants. And that's actually pretty cool, and we'll talk about that later why. But the ability for this is nice and simple. If the unmodified wound roll for an attack made with a melee weapon used by a model from this battalion is a 6, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. Pretty cool. Makes all our Trogs do that little bit extra damage, and if you roll well and spike, it can be quite devastating. So let's get into the actual army list though, and we'll start talking about this as we go through. Troggoths are really cool, and like I said, they're just awesome to play. I think they're a really fun army. Certainly not the most competitive, but this army will make your opponent have to think and take consideration, because those Troggoth units can dish out a surprising amount of pain. So yes, we are the army Gloomspite Gitz. Obviously no sub-faction available because Gloomspite Gitz do not have them, and we are from the realm of Akshi, the realm of fire. Leader-wise, we're going to take a Dankhold Trogboss. He's going to be our general. He's going to have the command trait Mighty Blow, which allows you to reroll those d6s on his damage, meaning you just can get that little bit extra damage through, hopefully, or re-roll those ones into even a 2 is much better. But then he's also going to have the Incandescent Rageblade, which will split his attacks, all hits up, into 2 wound rolls. Now this is really cool because it's not. So we're going to roll his attacks. He's then going to any 6s are going to split up, and then we've got more chance to do that extra damage. Plus we're going to be able to re-roll those d6 damage. He's pretty cool. He's got some cool abilities like being able to ignore magic and stuff like that. He's got some own innate defenses built in within him because he can heal himself as well. And he's also got the crush and grip ability, which is pretty cool as well. Where you can sort of pick out a single model and roll a dice if it's equal to or greater than the wounds characteristic of the model it's slain. And you can sort of pick out particular models. This comes into really great use when you're playing armies that have leader models within units or banners or musicians that are doing certain things you want to get rid of. In particular, things like Ossiarch Bone Reapers with a Hecatos inside the ranks. You know, you can pick up the Hecatos and crush him, or even the new Luminath Realm Lords where their champions are in fact the wizards of those units, and you can pick them up and crush them. So that does have some really cool play within it. Or if your opponent's strung out in a daisy chain, you know, like in a long line, you can split them up and then force the half the unit to disappear because they can't get back into cohesiveness. We've then taken the only model outside of our battalion, but I think this is the best way to do it, keeping in theme. You know, we could take some smaller Gloomspite wizards, but it just wouldn't be right to have those little goblins running around with our trogs, so we're definitely going to go for a Troggoth Hag. Now, she doesn't actually get to pick a spell out of the Gloomspite book because the Gloomspite spell laws are for Gloomspite wizards only and Spiderfang wizards only, of which she is neither, so she doesn't get a spell from the book, although her own innate spell is really great, which is Hag's Curse. It has a casting value of 7, and if successfully cast, you can pick an enemy unit within 12 inches of her. That's also visible to her. Until your next hero phase, you subtract 1 from hit rolls for that unit and subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target that unit as well. It's really, really good. A really solid spell. And then, of course, she's also got, you know, Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and the other spell that you would have from playing in the realms. She's also innately -1 to hit due to her terrible stench, which is really cool, and once again just gives us some innate built-in defenses, and she also heals D6 wound every hero phase as well. And it's worth mentioning now that the ability of the moon going over the bad moon, that is the allegiance ability for Gloomspite Gitz, actually allows you to either reroll the dice to see if you actually do successfully heal, or reroll the dice to double the number of wounds healed. So she can actually do quite a bit of healing. She can be healing 2d6, or double what you roll in a d6 is. So it's not actually 2d6, it's doubling the actual roll at the end. Then giving her the Shiny Whatnot, which is just a 6+ shrug against some mortals, and if it's an endless spell, it can actually dispel the endless spell if it's used as well, which is quite cool. Battle line in here though, we've gone for 2 big blocks of 6 Rockgut Troggoths, and the reason we've gone for the Rockgut Troggoths in the blocks of 6 is because they're generally the hardier, they not necessarily the hardier, but because they don't have any innate negatives to hit, like the Fell Warders, I think they work better as the 6s in the army, because we want units. Something you can really fall into a trap with when playing an army like Troggoths or something of similar size is having too many large-bodied units. So you've got to remember that these models actually probably all won't get into combat. It's actually quite hard for them all to do that, but you're going to need more than just a couple of units. Originally, when I built this list, I only had 3 units of Troggoths. I'm like, hey, you're 1 unit of 9 units of 6s, that's great. But in fact, it's actually not a great way to do it, because you then have all your eggs in one basket and you can't actually spread out and collect the objectives across the board that you need to in some particular missions. So for this, we've gone 2 blocks of 6 Rockgut Troggoths. We've also gone 3 units of 3 Fellwater Troggoths. Now the Fellwaters, I think, just because they've got the negatives to hit from their foul stench and stuff like that, that they can spread across the board a lot easier and are much better in the 3s than the Rockguts are. Interestingly though, I've also chosen to take an Ale Guzzler Gargant. Now, this is because how the missions now in Age of Sigmar are working, and there are particular missions where a behemoth is required to score extra points. So he's not necessarily in there to actually do anything, but if you're playing particular missions, it actually is worth checking out what you're playing to make your army list work for those missions, especially in tournaments where you're playing certain missions, you know what they are. If you don't have a behemoth and you can't score those extra points, it can actually hamper you in those missions. So you may need to actually take units you otherwise wouldn't be taking so you can score these extra points. And that unit might do absolutely nothing in game, but the fact it's there and able to score you extra points can actually win you games. So that's the reason I've chosen to take an Ale Guzzler Gargan in the list over, say, a Dankhold Troggherd, which isn't a behemoth. Battalions, obviously, though, we've got the Trogherd, and then an endless spell. I've chosen to take the Prismatic Palisade, and the reason I've chosen the Palisade is just because, once again, this army sort of does lack a little bit of board control, and this can allow you to sort of extend that board control presence of units of Troggoths that are out there, or even your characters, or the Troggoth Hag herself, obviously. It's also another negative to hit potentially, you know. If this goes off and then blinds everyone, they can be potentially -2 to hit your Troggoth Hag, and so she'll be pretty safe from most things if that does happen. But all in all, this army does come up to about 2,000 points. It's got 1 extra command point thanks to Battalion, no allies are needed, and it is a fairly decent 124 wounds. I'd really like to hear some thoughts about Troggoths, and if people run Troggoths consistently, do leave some comments down below, because I really am looking into getting Troggoths next after playing my sort of goblin heavy Gloomspite. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. But thank you all for watching. What did you think of that battalion list? Let us know down in the comments below what you think and how you've used that battalion in your own games. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every subscriber means the world to us, and we're fast approaching 1,500, which would be amazing to hit nice and soon. Down in the description below, you also find links to our Discord, on which you can come join and chat with me and the rest of the community there that we've got growing. And also you'll find a link to our Twitch channel, which you definitely should go follow, as we're trying to hit 50 followers on Twitch. Lastly, thank you to all our Patreon supporters. You guys and gals are absolutely amazing. And a special thank you to our Sinful Guard Militia, Christian Weir, Soren, Philip Ward and Chaos Spawn, and our Free Good Regiment members, James and AJC. If you'd like to join our Patreon and help support the channel in another way, you can find the link down in the description below as well. But thank you everyone, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.